he said I was one of the best players in the group that he played just because I took a map off him. Anyhow, times are different now. ShoWTimE, I think he's one of the players that's probably going to spend a little bit more time trying to adjust to these new maps, you know? Because like in a lot of ways, the aggressor, I know Pig talked about it earlier in the cast, but he was talking about how the aggressor very often comes out the victor early on. Like learning how to defend, it's so much harder, and ShoWTimE's always been that kind of player that I can poke a little bit, but ultimately I come down to the defensive kind of player.
Yeah, I mean, we call him the Mauer for a reason, the wall, right? ShoWTimE is obviously known for having very cool base layouts and just defend wave after wave, but it takes a little while before you truly figure it all out on these new maps, knowing exactly where you want to get those gateway walls going, where you want to drop your static defenses. And ShoWTimE is indeed not an in-your-face kind of player, like we saw Bunny, for instance, earlier today. So I'm kind of with you when there is a brand new map pool. ShoWTimE is not the first guy that I look at where I'm like, I think you're going to peak in the first 2 weeks. Like, no, I feel like for Mr. Mauer it often takes a little while longer. But even though for us, and a lot of the viewers out there, these maps are brand new, a lot of these players have been playing on them for a while, and even before the online DreamHack Masters Valencia started, a lot of these guys were already duking it out in custom games on these maps, so ShoWTimE should have a fair bit of experience by now.
Oh, absolutely. And let's be real. Like, the Protoss meta has changed pretty drastically over the past few months. I mean, Hero's been leading the charge. We even had players like Reina spin his own twists on the PvZ meta entirely, which quite a few Protoss players are picking up from him, actually, the young Zerg player. But here, very safe and standard start from both of them. A nice little bit of delay on this third base by ShoWTimE already.
I mean, the funny thing is that ShoWTimE was actually an Oracle man a long time ago already. Even when Void Rays and Shield Batteries were all the rage, and that's kind of all you saw, and a lot of people got pretty sick and tired of this matchup for all the right reasons. ShoWTimE was actually already a triple Oracle kind of guy. It's just that his follow-ups were a little bit different than the one that Hero has shown us, and even now that indeed Reina's Protoss is showing us, where Reina is taking aggression to a whole nother level. And I know it seems silly that we're talking about Reina's Protoss, but even a lot of the top-tier European Protosses right now, they look over at Reina and they're like, oh, I guess Reina is kind of showing us how to play PvZ. And some of them, even in the play area today, called him, unironically, arguably the best PvZ player in Europe.
Which is definitely a spicy thing to be saying, but he's been doing damn good. But DomRagu, he's a different beast when it comes to ZVP. Like, he's a guy that, when I think there is a standard meta, he showcased like, hey, I'm going to hold this Adept Glaive play with the 3 Ravager. People called it the DRG play. And then into like mass mutas, he's very crazy about it. And that already, that 4 links around, that was a nice way to delay this third. And those little things will absolutely help out. Is he? He's not going to be able to get that Overlord straight away either.
Nope. He's not going to get the Overlord, but especially losing a probe like that, where you feel like there is absolutely nothing out on the map. You can just warp in at Nexus. Instead, that Nexus goes down a solid 12 seconds later. The links show up again. This time around, they may actually get a cancel on this final unless we use Pulsar Beam, and we do decide to use Pulsar Beam. Obviously, energy-based, so if you're ShoWTimE, you kind of don't want to use that energy on your side of the map. You want to save that up on the other side. And now it's really just a dance on how many drones will fall to these 2 Oracles. It's not super important for ShoWTimE that he kills 8 or 10 immediately. Obviously, that's what Sweet Protoss dreams are made of, but that's very unlikely. But #1 mission is A, keep those Oracles alive, very important for the follow-up, and B, do try to find like a couple of stray drones here and there.
It's definitely a nice map for getting behind both the main bases here. And like you can kind of do it fairly unscathed. And even though he took a little bit of damage, obviously he will regenerate. And now DomRagu has to constantly watch his bases, because those Oracles, if they dive in unnoticed, but he's doing a very good job so far of having Queens in the right position, but still going to get a nice few juicy drones, but I think he wanted more out of that.
Yeah, definitely, especially once you start taking hull damage, right? Losing a bit of the shields, no biggie. Once you start losing real HP, that's where you're like, well, that's acceptable. If I can get 5, 6, or 7 drones, just 2 drones is not ideal so far for ShoWTimE, but the game is not going to be make it or break it right now on how much done these Oracles, or how much these Oracles can get done. It's been a long day, Ben. I had to wait a little while before Group Stage 3 kicked off, and 1 Oracle just gets picked off there. This is not the start that ShoWTimE was looking for.
No, absolutely not. Like, how many Spore Crawlers were actually made by DomRagu? Because he's been so greedy.
Only 2, yeah.
So, I mean, like, the fact that he kind of skimped a little bit on that and he's got away with it, and now he's getting +1 on the Lings as well. His scouting seems pretty damn good. The Roach Warren, super delayed as well, but rightly so. There was no need to get it early. So I think DomRagu's done a lot of corner cutting, but he's also been incredibly safe, and that is a beautiful wall from the wall himself.
What does the queen count look at this point? That's what, okay, so it's only 7 queens. Yeah, it's pretty spectacular that he's only been losing 2 drones against triple Oracle while only making 2 Spore Crawlers and 7 Queens. Because there are moments where you see Zergs with 10 plus Queens and only 4 Spore Crawlers, and they still end up losing 5 or 6 drones rather quickly. So definitely an early game that DRG is going to be very happy with. ShoWTimE, I think he realizes right now that losing one of those Oracles is a big deal. You can't move out too early with the Stalkers, because if the Lings get a surround on your Stalkers, even if they have Blink, if you don't have the Oracles to provide safety, you're going to be in trouble, and we could have potentially seen that there already, but the Oracles were nearby to save the day. And look at ShoWTimE, he's even rebuilding an Oracle, and I actually don't hate that.
I don't hate that too. When you see this number of Lings, like those Oracles can really be the dividing factor in keeping those units alive, keeping them safe. I love the little cannon here behind the wall as well, just deflecting, because so far these Lings, they've been scary, but they haven't really got that much done.
DRG's economy is definitely better though than it is for Zerg players normally in this phase of the game. The main reason why the triple Oracle Blink Stalker is so popular among the Protosses is that they actually feel they can play a style where they are not economically behind. They're often very even in workers, and they can start pressuring the 4th base already of the Zerg. Well, none of that is happening, and DRG has created a little worker lead for himself. All that ShoWTimE really needs though is one good fight, some good Blink Stalker micros, some great usage of these Oracles with Pulsar Beam against the Lings, or maybe even a big Stasis Trap on a bunch of Roaches, and everything that we felt didn't really go his way will be forgotten about. But this is a full surround. Lings coming in from the top, Stalkers do blink out, but this is all so far away from a hatchery even that you can't be happy with any of this if you're ShoWTimE.
No, I mean, it was well handled by both of them, because that could have been ShoWTimE dying right there and then, right? But the fact is, look at that creep spread, Kev. You don't often see creep getting that far ahead like this, especially with all these upgrades coming in. DRG, he's played this game totally unscathed, basically.
Yep. DRG's mechanics definitely looking up to the challenge so far. He's spot on with everything, and ShoWTimE just not really getting a whole lot going. And this is where things become very frustrating as well, because you can't even really go for drive-bys anymore. Another Oracle gets picked off.
For a Queen.
Yep, that's number 2. Obviously not a good trade for ShoWTimE. He is once more going back up to 3. But this is not a game that I think he's very happy with. Now Blink Stalkers can absolutely shine off creep if you can just kind of micro back towards shield batteries and cannons once more. Sometimes all it takes is one good fight for the Protoss, as 19 Banelings have just finished up.
And look at that, he's getting +2. He's getting +2 faster than the Protoss is. I mean, that is actually insane. And the fact that he's on 5 bases here, I mean, these run-bys will absolutely buy ShoWTimE time, because I think right now, this is the moment where he has to be the most careful with what he has, because the amount of AoE he's going to need and the amount that he's lacking is huge.
Yeah, sentry count is just not high enough, so we can only drop a couple of force fields. That's not enough. Over 100 Zerglings are out on the map. And like you said, Ben, these Lings are feisty. These Lings have +2. I do still think that DRG needs to be a little bit careful near cannons and batteries, especially off creep, because then the Queens are not there to help out against these Oracles. But so far, DRG is honestly putting on a masterclass on how to play ZVP against this style. And ShoWTimE will obviously be kicking himself a little bit, where it's like, man, this is not a clean game. I'm just making too many little errors. And like you said in the beginning, they really start adding up.
Yeah, and I love everything DRG's doing here. Like, the second Evo as well, getting all those upgrades out, even for the Roaches and stuff. And look at this. This is a lot of Zealots with decent upgrades, but they are going to get mashed up against this wall. Using it against him is DRG. And DRG, he's getting Hive behind all this. This isn't an all-in by any means.
Yep, I kind of wonder what we're going to do with the Hive. Do you think it's
Adrenal glands, maybe Ultras at this point, honestly. I think anything's a good call when you're so decently positioned.
Ultras could be pretty sick, but also can be very clumsy, especially if ShoWTimE has good SimCity, which he definitely has so far. I mean, ShoWTimE just wants to go up to 4 bases, and DRG is having none of it, and DRG actually wants to find some damage against the 3-base setup that ShoWTimE currently has. ShoWTimE's army supply is not looking all that bad, even though we're going to end up losing a couple of Zealots here. Another big round of Stalkers getting warped in. There is the Adrenal Glands, and I just wonder if we're going to do anything else with Hive other than Adrenal.
I mean, he's still focusing on these upgrades, man. He's going to have really well-upgraded units, but these fights and these chokes, I mean, ShoWTimE's positioning so good. Look at that Big Daddy Archon with the shield battery actually staying alive there. That is clean play from the German, but he's got a long way to go. He is now established on 4 bases, which is great. His economy actually equal with the Zerg. If he keeps on going like this with these sick trades, in fact, what is the resources lost have at this point? Ah, that's nice.
Yeah, I said 4, obviously I meant that ShoWTimE is trying to go up to 5 bases, and DongRagu says nope, that is absolutely not going to happen, not yet, unless you really want to take a fight close to creep and at least away from your cannons. So DongRagu is doing a very good job in denying that 5th base, but we know that the 4 base Protoss can absolutely just hang in there for a while. We do have the Ultralisk Cavern going down, but at the same time double Robo already up and running. This run by could hurt, even though there are 2 Oracles near a battery, and that is going to be good enough. I mean, ShoWTimE definitely looking a lot stronger in the last 2 minutes because DongRagu is not finding the damage and success that he was looking for.
Yeah, if it took ShoWTimE a bit of time finding his place on the stage, you can now see he's in his rhythm. He's got his defenses down, and DongRagu, the evolution will be going into Ultralisk and stuff, but ShoWTimE's already prepared. I've been watching 2 Immortals at a time being popped out. This could be a nice little catch for these Lings, but those Archons, man, they're well upgraded, and they deal with those Lings very nicely.
And they were kind of protected by the Zealots too, right? That's lovely, because then the Lings need to take care of the Zealots first before they can even start going for the Archons. But kind of a move command here on both sides. That's kind of unique. You don't see that very often. Battery overcharge has been activated. And that means I think we should kind of give up, but DongRagu does not want to give up. DongRagu is just going to go for it. And the Banelings will find some connections. And he is actually getting on top of all the Stalkers as well. 15 probes going down. ShoWTimE a bit too far out of position, and he will just tap out. And that's kind of funny because 45 seconds before that, it didn't look all that bad anymore for ShoWTimE. Because it's not like DongRagu was sitting on 4K. He was spending every penny he had. But that attack was decisive. And he actually just broke through, and ShoWTimE tapped out.
Yeah, he was really a demolition Zerg there, right? It was like, I'm just going to kind of shark around in the middle of the map, try and find an opening here and there, and he went for it a few times, and it looked like ShoWTimE was getting into it, but never got that Ultralisk tech online, just went with the pure Ling Bane Ravager kind of stuff. And man, those Lings, those Banelings with those kind of upgrades so quickly, he looked really good that first game, it's got to be said. But going into it, hope isn't lost for ShoWTimE, because you're absolutely right. The last half of that game, ShoWTimE played far, far better, because losing 2, not just 1, 2 Oracles, one to kill a couple of drones, the other one to kill a Queen in the middle of the map, that's not it.
And because of that, he was not able to push back the creep either, right? And that is just bad for so many reasons. A, whenever DongRagu wants to poke, he basically has a launching pack with the creep, and he's going to be a lot faster. But B, if you set up a Zealot run-by, it's going to be revealed from miles away. If you go for another flyby with the Oracles, I mean, DongRagu's going to get a massive heads up because he's got vision everywhere. So it was a really ugly start for ShoWTimE. But towards the end, it wasn't even looking all that bad anymore. It would have been bad if DongRagu actually had 2 more bases and was ultra rich. But DongRagu was doing all of that of a relatively low drone cut towards the end, right? Because he hard stuck in 77 for the longest time. And then playing that aggressive, and I wouldn't want to say reckless, but you know, that eager to make something happen can be very risky as a Zerg, because it would absolutely backfire.
Maybe that's the thing that caught ShoWTimE off a little bit, because you get a lot of the other Zergs, like Reyna, for example, big fan of going up to like 90, maybe even 95 drones-ish, whereas DongRagu, yeah, you're totally right, he just stayed on that 79 number, but big upgrades, big units constantly in your face, and this creep spread, it cannot be ignored. He could go from one side to the other. As soon as there was a little chink in the chain, it was just like, bam, he ran through there, and that Archon there, that really kept ShoWTimE alive, but this is the move command you talked about.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, because it's 108 army supply against 108 army supply. There is a battery overcharge there. Normally, I feel like a game does not need to end here for a Protoss, especially not off-creep. There's no anti-air for all these Oracles, even though they didn't have that much energy. But ShoWTimE just had a lot of army supply out of position, and I do want to give kudos to DongRagu for that, because DongRagu did such a phenomenal job in denying the 5th base over and over and over again. That ShoWTimE, all right, enough is enough. This time I'm keeping a lot of units there. And then DongRagu is like, all right, then I'm attacking with my entire army into your initial 3rd base and take it from there.
And I think that was a really good utilization of the map as well, because he constantly had like a group of 40 Lings constantly poking. It looked like they didn't get much done, but it kept making ShoWTimE realize he has to reinforce that top position.
Yeah.
But that creep spread being so close to his base, it just meant the launch pad could be launched from any angle, to which DongRagu pleased. And anyhow, we're getting into the second game here. We'll be on Cosmic Sapphire, spawning over in the top left, currently 0-1 down. It is ShoWTimE.
And that obviously means that in the bottom right side of this massive map, we're looking at the main base of the Korean Zerg, who looked mighty fine for the majority of that first game here in the 3rd group stage, representing Team Envy. It's DongRagu.
He's looking cool and calm as well. I was very impressed with how he was handling that stuff early game. You get a few Zerg players, they get a Spore in every base, and still they take more damage than he did. And he was just like, you know what? Those Oracles be in my base, 3 Queens on each base, 1 Spore in the front ones, the more exterior bases. And he didn't take barely any damage. It was just very smooth, and I love the fact he started those upgrades so quickly, because that probably made that army very deceiving for ShoWTimE, because you might be thinking, hey, that doesn't do that much damage, and it's like, whoa, my whole army just melted in the blink of an eye.
I don't know if this is a DRG specific thing or a nut ban, but I see that gas going down. And that gas was like 11 seconds quicker than most of the gases go down. And if I was playing ladder right now, all the alarm bells would go off. I'd drop a forge and a couple cannons because I'm a pleb and I'm worried about whatever is coming. Now, I don't know if this necessarily means that DRG is going to do something very feisty, but 10 seconds quicker, like that was a 1 minute sharp gas. Well, normally pro players take it around 110, 111, sometimes at 109 if their natural gets blocked, you know, and they feel like, oh, I want to get speed a few seconds quicker. But a solid 10 plus seconds quicker, that just gives me a flashback immediately of that IM Katowice final between Rogue and Zest, where Rogue kept taking super early gases and Zest scouted it and he's like, yeah, seems fine. It's like, no, that's not fine, Zest, he's got all in you, and he kept on all-inning. So let's see if DRG also goes for an all-in here or not.
Yeah, it makes me wish I kept note of what he did in that first game there, because all he had was 4 lings out on the map early on, right? And that was mainly to make sure he gets his third down nice and safe. Got a pro kill at third, denied the third and such. That is a nice little wall off you can get off with 2 buildings on this map, by the way, for Protoss.
Yep. I mean, DRG did stop mining gas immediately after he mined 100, and he's now slowly going back into drone production, so it really doesn't seem like there was anything too unique. But I still kind of wonder why you would get it that much quicker. Because obviously investing in a quicker extractor and putting 3 drones from minerals into gas, it slows down your mineral growth for quite some time, but we'll see. I'm sure that DRG knows what he's doing and he's got a plan.
Yeah, I mean, he did say that he hates playing against worse players because he gets worse himself. Maybe he's played against you one too many times. He's like, yeah, this makes them make 5 cannons that are natural. But no. I think he's obviously very comfortable with this style. He looked very smooth in game 1. And if that game 1 is anything to go by, I trust DRG in his ZVP thus far.
He did have those 4 links with speed show up very quickly, right? Where he grabbed that 1 probe that was supposed to warp in that Nexus. So maybe DRG has just mapped out the timings where he's like, I'm going to take quicker. Yes, but then I know that you only have 1 adept protecting that probe, and that will actually allow my 4 links to just pick it off immediately. Feels pretty risky and feels like a big investment for a single probe, but once more, I'm sure that he knows what he's doing.
Oracle opening, and yet again for ShoWTimE, and this is something that he's been comfortable with even before this meta really kind of sprouted off, right, with these multiple Oracles. First game, I tell you what, Kev, those early lings, getting a kill like this and delaying that third base, like look at ShoWTimE's minerals. That absolutely comes into play.
Yeah, and I mean, once more, if DRG would have taken his gas 10 seconds later, then he would not have speed there, right? So maybe that's just a DRG thing where he just knows that if he shows up, and on this map it obviously got very close because this map is so big, but it was still barely in time. And that ShoWTimE Nexus, instead of it going down at 345, it goes down at 358. So DRG is like, all right, 12 seconds delay. I like where I'm going. I really wonder if DRG can get away with double Spore Crawlers, 7 Queens, against triple Oracle again, because I feel there are some Protoss players out there that will absolutely punish you for that one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I think about Hero skirting around that mineral line like he's got Top Gun fighter pilots fighting for him, but he's now got 2 adepts with it. I think he didn't have that in the first game, right? And this could definitely throw a spanner in the works for ShoWTimE, or rather for DRG.
Maybe ShoWTimE just felt that DRG did play indeed very greedy, took a look at the build order, and he's like, I should definitely go for a wombo combo of adepts in one mineral line and the oracles in a different one, and see what I can get done. We are just going to fly over 3 queens. This time around we pick up 3 drones, but that is so much damage on one of these oracles that basically forces you to be very cautious from here on out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so scared when I get a unit down to that kind of health, but ShoWTimE, he didn't flinch at all, and he ran for it too. He knew that he was going to take damage from that, but now, third Oracle in play. DRG reacts very quickly here. Might do, okay, I thought he was going to do some shenanigans there where he kind of makes a building, but DRG, on the other side of the map with his Zerglings, isn't getting much done, and this already looks like a far better start for ShoWTimE. I love the fact that he went forward with a full health Oracle there as well.
Yep, I mean, this is already better right now. We've already killed way more drones than we did in the previous game before we even lost an Oracle. So definitely a slightly better setup for Die Mauer, Deutschland's Hope, together with Lambo and Gabe. We're in the same group, by the way, guys, Group B. They were off to an excellent start. They both won their opening match. I do have one more feisty result as we take a look at this Oracle just flying in, and ShoWTimE really finding way more success than he did in the previous game. This is Mr. Mauer that we know and love. Look at that, man. This is his way cleaner play. 11 drones already and no dead Oracle. And one more cool result, Ben. Special 2-0 Bunny.
That's really impressive, actually, because Bunny looked pretty damn good earlier, besides that double Widowmine shot killing his whole army. But no, this is a totally different game. And this is why I didn't lose hope in that first game between these two, because ShoWTimE absolutely came alive in the last half of it. I felt that he was playing really damn good. That, though, that's a bit of a glimpse of that first half in game one there.
And you can see it as well in the camera, right? ShoWTimE just kind of going for a big breath where he's like, well, that was very silly because I was actually kind of feeling myself, felt I was getting into the rhythm, and that was just a bit of a donation. Because it really was flying into no man's land, all over creep in the range of a Spore Crawler. ShoWTimE still, that is so risky. Mr. Schmauer loses another Oracle after the clean start that he had there. Maybe getting a bit too carried away. Does grab 2 drones, but that's obviously not worth losing 2 Oracles.
Donragu's so quick about getting his armor up as well. Like, this is +1 Ling, so they will deal a lot of damage. Nice force fields to keep that cannon alive, but he's gonna have +2 melee, +1 carapace on the way. He's getting everything else started that he did in game 1 as well. Going for roach speed, getting the Baneling Nest up and running. It's nice.
You know what's one more very problematic issue for a Protoss when you lose the Oracles is that with this style, especially when you play the double Forge style that ShoWTimE is doing and Charge, your Robots are not going to go online for a very long time. We saw that in the previous game at one point at minute 10, I believe it was, we saw double Robo, but that basically means you have no observers. And if you have no observers, it is so hard to keep track of not just the Lings, but also of Banelings morphing nearby. And maybe ShoWTimE is just going to deal with that because he's got great wall-ups in SimCities, but it's pretty terrifying when you don't know where the Banelings are morphing. And Lynx actually sneaking through the cracks there, getting a cancel on that cannon as well. I really hope that we have a unit on hold position in the natural. Fortunately for ShoWTimE, we do.
I mean, this is already getting a bit feisty. By the way, talking about those Oracles and how important they are, I mean, there's so much chaos going on. ShoWTimE actually remade both of them, but these Stalkers are pretty much forfeit in the middle of the map. He needs to get out of there, because that Oracle doesn't have enough energy to keep on fighting.
Yep, Donragu is clearly playing very quick, and his mechanics are on point. But for ShoWTimE, this definitely feels uncharacteristically sloppy, right? Where it's almost like he's losing track of what he's got out on the map. He's losing track of where his units are. And he's just not quite able to get the things done that he wants to get done. Can't warp in the gateway there, can't warp in the cannon. Obviously, good move by Donragu, just being super annoying. And ShoWTimE is actually, all things considered, really not in that bad of a spot. This is very playable. But looking at his camera, he's very unhappy with how things are going.
Yeah, he doesn't look that comfortable, right? Every little mistake, as soon as you start battering yourself, it's like you just need to keep focused, keep the momentum going. Whatever does go good for you and bad for you, you know, just play what you've practiced. And right now, even losing these little Stalkers here and there, it's not what you want. But Donragu, the amount of Lings that he has on the map, this is just difficult to go up against. And they're 2-1 Lings, Kev.
Yeah, they are feisty Lings with Hive halfway done. That obviously means that we are once more going to see that quick Adreno glance. And even though we saw the Ultralisk Cavern go down last game, it never really got into play. And honestly, it would have been really hard to get that into play as we have a couple of force fields go down, Lings and Banelings looking for connections. At the same time, a Baneling run by this is almost impossible to spot, but at the last moment, ShoWTimE does try to save the day. Warps in a couple of Stalkers, but still loses 9 workers and a few pilots.
And all of a sudden, that what wasn't looking that bad situation starts to look a lot worse. Because as soon as you're on the back foot with this style, that's it. The Zerg just reigns free. And look at that creep spread as well. I mean, it started, it's not as crazy as game 1, obviously, but it's getting there. He's halfway across the map. He's everywhere with these Lings.
Yep, Rico is going to get used here, otherwise these Lings will absolutely get a kill. And they may still just go for it. They are just right-clicking on that Nexus. And Donragu very casually just snipes the 3rd base of ShoWTimE. Zealots will get taken care of as well on the bottom side of the map. And while this game may have not looked that disastrous and we had a much better start, Donragu is just kind of outplaying ShoWTimE in the mid-game. It's often a dance, right? Is Donragu playing that good, or is ShoWTimE making a few mistakes he normally doesn't make? It's probably a little bit of both. It's been, of course, a while that ShoWTimE has been sitting on the stage like this too. And it does not feel that this is Mr. Mao's A-game.
No, but I do think that Donragu is looking feisty, man. Like, everywhere I look, this is a Zerg cinematic of just beauty, right? He's winning every fight. He's keeping the Protoss back. 3-2 on the way with Adrenal. I mean, I don't think ShoWTimE's going to be able to hold this, Kev. This is so much Zerg and GG Donragu.